Goedemiddag. But I think we have to do the lecture in English, so we do it in English. So thank you for coming here. I just have a small presentation of you how we have to manage the raw material in the future. Hello. So we call that turn 2. What turn 2 means, you will see later. But first I want to introduce our office. So we are an architecture office. We are based in Amsterdam, quite close to here. And we started up in '92. And what you can see, we are working 4 days a week. So we work 4 times 9 hours, and then we have every week we have a long weekend. Because I think it's very important to realize that there are much more things in the world we have to work on than just on architecture. We have a family, we have children, we have a relation. So let's work on that on the long weekend. We have an organic lunch. So input is output. So if you don't give the people, never expect the same quality then. We have a cradle-to-cradle interior, and of course, as all of you, we have an electric car and we have a water gas car. But before I want to start, I want to show you a small film to introduce our philosophy. And it's a small film over a president, and you know the president very well. He died some years ago, and the movie will be just 2 minutes. So let's have a look.
William Bradford, speaking in 1630 of the founding of the Plymouth Bay Colony, said that all great and honorable actions are accompanied with great difficulty, and both must be enterprised and overcome with answerable courage. If this capsule history of our progress teaches us anything, it is that man in his quest for knowledge and progress is determined and cannot be deterred. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win.
So he said something very important. He said, we do something not because it's easy, but we do it because it's difficult. We have no idea how much money it will be cost, how to get there, but we just know one thing: over 7 years, we go to the moon. So his target is in the future. So the present is not relevant, the past is not relevant, relevant is the future. So what do we want to do in the future? And if we know what we want to do in the future, then we know what kind of decisions we have to make right now. So what you see here is, this is the result, Apollo 8, they go up. And Frank Borman, he looked out of the wrong window. It was not allowed, but he looked out of the wrong window. He saw that. And he took the camera and he took the first photo from the planet Earth. It's an illegal photo, he was not allowed to do that. But this is the first photo which is done by a human being from that place where you're living on. And this is the starting point of sustainability. All sustainable movements, they started after Christmas night 1968, because it's done on Christmas night. And what you see, that planet, the Greeks were here, the Romans were here, you are here, and over 80 years, if you come again here, you won't come, I won't come, then we are dead. So we know that for sure. So we know exactly that we are guests on the planet. So that the question is, how do we have to behave as a guest on the planet? So important, what I said before, not the present, not what Mr. Wilders is thinking, or Mr. Rutte, or how much money do we have. It's not important at all. Important is, how do we have to organize ourselves in the future? And then we have to make our decisions right now. Otherwise, we always make the wrong decision. So we have to be guided by the future. So let's talk about the future. So I want to show you some projects we did in the architecture office, and then I want to introduce the next theme. This is the WNF headquarter, the Worldwide Fund. It's an existing building. On the right side you see the old building, and this is exactly the same perspective on the new building. This was the first energy neutral building in Holland in 2006. And at that time we were not allowed to talk with anyone over the design process, because they were very afraid of all the sponsors that, okay, if they know we make a CO2 neutral building, we will lose a lot of sponsorships. This is completely nonsense. This is a school. We just finished that last year. They're earning money. They're earning money, 130,000 euro a year, because 1,000 pupils using the school more or less out of freedom. How comes that? You're sitting here, you're quite relaxed, you have a lot of lectures today, tonight you're very tired, you go to bed, you do your meditation, then you're going to sleep, and tomorrow morning you're fresh, for sure. How comes? Why are you tomorrow morning fresh? You don't put your finger somewhere to pick up some green electricity? This happens to 7 billion people every night. So we are loaded up every night, 7 million people, and we have to use that energy. That means we have more energy than we need. But we don't use it because you don't have to pay for it. So they use that energy, and they're earning 130,000 euro a year. This is an office building. We just finished that last year. This is an energy positive building too. Even they earning money with the building. So they produce as much energy with the building what they need for the building, for the climate and to use the building. So no energy bill, no tax, free. It's tax-free energy. It costs you nothing. So it's possible. We don't have to wait for the government to say, okay, maybe in 2050 or 2060, we can ask energy positive buildings. We can make them right now. This building we finished last week. This is also the first building where the energy stream in the building is following the human being. That means we just condition the space where a human being is. If there's no human being, there's no need to condition the space. So you can save 60% of the primary energy in the building if you follow with the energy stream the human being. So the question is, we don't have an energy problem, but we have an energy demand, of course. But I'm not on the planet to save energy. I am on the planet to find out who I am and who I want to be in the future. And for that, of course, I need energy, because we have plenty energy. So what we realized at the office, we said, okay, we don't have an energy problem, not at all. This is a very nice business model of very keen lobbies in the world, and we pay for that every month. You pay, I pay, but this is just a game. So let's say we don't have an energy problem. So what is the next step then? So we solved the problem with buildings. Because we have very big sources, you know, all the sources, the sun, the earth, the fire, the wind, the water. And don't forget, the most important energy source, that's you. That's your freedom. This is so powerful. And we want to use, and we can use that fact that a human being is kind of an energy bomb. We use that in our buildings. So what is the next step? The next step is physical energy. Yeah. For example, I will give you an example. So we cool down the building because we have a digesting system. That sounds very strange maybe, but let's say in the WWF building there are 200 people working there. They go 4 times a day to the toilet. So we have 800 times we're flushing the toilet. 800 times 8 liter, let's say 6,500 liter drink water. We just throw it away. But the drink water is always, in the summer it's cooler than the outside temperature, and in the winter it's warmer than the outside temperature. So we use the drink water, the temperature, to cool down or to warm up the building. Then we wash our hands with the water, and then we flush the toilets. So they can cool down the building without any costs, just because we have a digesting system, for example. So there are plenty of examples how we can use the human being physically to produce energy. These are your grandchild. You see them on the left side. And this is very interesting. In the middle, it's not very sharp, but I hope you can see it. This was in the BBC News last year. And there was a report that the Americans, they're digging in the ground since 8 years. I didn't know that the Taliban, they sit so deeply in Afghanistan, but they're digging in the ground and they found a very important raw material. How comes that? How comes that they, since 8 years, are digging in the ground in Afghanistan? Know they more than us? So what we see, we have a raw material problem. And that's the way how we make things. We take something from the earth, because we have plenty, we think. We produce, we make a product, we have someone who's using it, and mostly he's throwing it away. And then we start again. We take some from the earth, and so on. But we just saw the planet. And we saw, that's it. It won't be more in the future. It won't be less. It will be less, but it won't be more. So that means we have to organize the raw material management completely different. That's the way how we consume right now, that we have the life cycle and we have the performance cycle of a product. And until the last century, we just used the things as long as they were working, and if they didn't work, they were broken. Okay, now, maybe after 20 years, maybe we have to buy a new telephone. But that changed. You see here, now we have products where the performance cycle is shorter than the life cycle. If I would say to you, I just came from the light supply and from the Apple shop, and I bought the iPad 3. So a lot of you are getting very nervous. How comes here's iPad 3, I just put iPad 2, so it goes very quick. So that means we're using the product shorter than we could use it, technically. So we're producing extra waste. It's also the other way around. You know the printer? He's broken again. Shit, I just bought it. Why is it not working? I have to buy a new one, whatever. So even in that cycle, we're also producing extra waste. So the next step was the cradle-to-cradle philosophy. Art, he just mentioned it, and I'm sure you all know the cradle-to-cradle philosophy. But it's just a philosophy. It's not a business model, and hopefully the producers will use it. But maybe the user doesn't care because he has no idea what he gets. So the cradle-to-cradle philosophy is what you see on the right side: where the material is from, how are they used, is it safe for the people and the nature, and is the product designed for disassembly? That's nice that you have this kind of product, but then, what happens then to the product? What does it mean for our economy? So we tried, with turn 2, we tried to make, okay, let's do the next step, because we have perfectly products. You see the Things tool from Steelcase, they are producing cradle-to-cradle base since nearly 20 years, so there are a lot of producers that know exactly how to do it. But how can we bring this kind of products in the world? How can we bring it to the people? To give the power to the people and not the power to the producers. In the cradle-to-cradle philosophy, we have 2 nutrient cycles, the biological and we have the technical. So the biological, I think, is very clear. And let's talk about the technical cycle. But there's one problem with the technical cycle. There's a leak, and the leak is here. Okay, I can reach it. It's the user, the consumer, because we're making very nice cradle-to-cradle products, and then it's coming to the consumer, and yeah, he's using it. He has no idea what he's getting. Is it a kind of a poison bomb or whatever? Maybe we call it the television, and so he's confronted with the consequences of the acting of the producer. He has no idea. And maybe it's getting back, but mostly we throw it away. So turn 2, we want to close the leak. But that means that we have to consume in a completely different way. Because if you make a new arrangement with the user, then you can bring back the product on an organized way. So we have a performance use and we have a raw material cycle. So it's all about that we are consuming performance-based. So what does it mean if you are consuming performance-based? So that means you don't buy a lamp. Why should you buy a lamp? You want to have light, don't you? So just ask Philip not to give you a lamp, but just ask Philip to give you light. That's what you want. So don't buy a washing machine. Just buy some washes. Or why should you buy a chair if you just want to sit? So in our office, we made the decision 2 years ago, oh, okay, let's throw everything away for the last time. And then we invited all the producers in Holland and said, okay, who wants to give us light? So Philips was coming along and said, okay, we want to have 300 lux, 1600 hours a year. And if you need energy or milk or water or cola, we don't care. We just want to have light from you. So that means even Philips, they have to pay for the electricity because they need the electricity to give us light. So I don't pay the electricity, they pay it. I don't want to pay it. That means if they make lamps which are very energy efficient, it's their advantage. So if we follow that step, that means, okay, we're just consuming performance-based. We don't want to buy things, we just want to turn to it. That means every product, every building is a resource bank, a bank of raw material. So every product, it's a laptop, an iPad or microphone, it's just an organized configuration of raw material. And then we call it a microphone, or we call it a laptop, or we call it a building. So that means a mind shift, so then you look completely different to a product. That means a product is a raw material bank. Here you see our office. So we have light hours, table hours, sit hours, walk hours, toilet hours, tiles hours, mirror hours, look through hours. So we just turn to everything. And all the products are still from the producer. Because we don't want to have it. Oh, sorry. And on the right side, I'll show you later, this is the first building in the world which will be a resource, which will be designed and organized and financed as a resource bank. So that means they get the building and after 20 years we take it back completely and they don't have to pay for the raw material. So we don't consume in the future, but we use. It's a kind of a performance-based consumption. And the main thing is we don't pay any more for the raw material. Why should we? Because I don't want to have it. I just want to have the performance. I don't want to have the raw material. So how can we organize that? And of course you have different cycles in the building. You can see it on the right side, mainly the interior. You change the interior very quickly every 7 years. And then the skin, maybe you change it 2 times a year. So we have, every product has its own biography in the building. And with Turn 2, we can participate on it. So what does it mean for the pricing? Down there you see the regular pricing. This is a mark price of the regular mark price, and here you see then the raw material. They use it here to make the product. Up there you see the Turn 2 price. For every Dutch people it's very nice if it's cheaper, so they love it. But Turn 2 is not just about the cheap products. It's about the fact you don't pay for the raw material. Why should you? So that means turn 2 is financing the raw material for the period that the product is with you, and if you get it back, then the producer has to take it back, and then he's paying back the money to turn 2. So it's not leasing. Leasing means you just change the ownership from A to B to C to D. Turn 2 means the product comes always back to the original producer. He is relevant. He is responsible for the consequences for his own acting. That means we don't need certification. You just need certification if you want to take the responsible. You don't want to take, you want to bring it to the next one. Said, okay, it's no problem. You can take it. I made a very good way. Show I did the certification, so you can take it. You can take the responsible, in fact, for me. With turn 2, the product is getting back to the producer. This is a little bit the current pricing. I think that's very clear. And what you see here is, so the turn 2 price is the added value, of course. So we don't pay for the raw materials. Of course, we have to pay a little bit interest of the raw materials because we have to finance it for the period that the product is with you. Then we have a turn 2 fee, and of course we have the service. Because if the washing machine is broken, nowadays you have to pay for it. You have to phone that, okay, on 10 days a serviceman is coming along. With turn 2, we are responsible for the service of the washing machine. You don't have to pay for it. You just paid for the performance. And if the washing machine is not doing what he has to do, you don't have to pay for it. So the pricing, the turn 2 pricing, is also completely different. And here you see our first partners. We will start that in the next month, and we have these partners, and you can do it with clothes, with hotel rooms, with office interiors, with car, with climate installation, so even with a whole building. And that's the building. This is the theme of the building. What you see, we had an old villa. And they were asking a new city hall. They said, okay, just give us a city hall for 20 years. That's it. Over 20 years, we have no idea if there's still Holland or if there's still Bremen or we still have a queen. We have no idea. So just give it us for 20 years and then take it with you. And this is the real estate. You see the old building in the middle, and you see the new building around. This is a turn 2 building. That means it's not only a new system of how we can consume, how we have to finance, but it's also how we have to design it. Because we have to design that building in a completely different way. If you see I don't have it there, if you see the iPhone, it's a fantastic instrument. They are all made in China, as you know for sure, because there is one raw material Apple needs for all his things. And this raw material is just found in China. So they say, okay, if you want to have it, you have to produce in our country. But they forget that they export their raw material through all the Apple stuff. But it's not made in a way that we can use it. So in the future we have to design and we have to produce a product in a way that we can back all the raw materials if we disassemble the product. So this building is designed in a way that we can disassemble it in 20 years and we can reuse all the raw material in the building. It's the construction, it's the glass, it's the floor, the stairs, everything. And of course, this is the energy system. I said we have no energy problem. But maybe another example, I think it's not very clear to see, but this is the first revolving door. So we designed the first revolving door in the world which is producing electricity. So if you go through the door, if you go one time, you make as much energy as you need for a cup of coffee. If you pass it through 2 times, you have an espresso. So it's up to you what you want to drink if you pass the door. And there are other buildings, just to show you, they're all completely different. This is very close to the Apenhöhl. It's a kind of it's not a zoo, maybe a monkey garden. So people are working with animals here. And this is the building from the backside, and this is the interior of the building. So even this building is made out of that philosophy. How do we have to make a building so that we can disassemble it? And now with turn 2, we can activate the value of the raw material, because in the future the consumer is not paying anymore for the raw material. And for the producer it's very interesting, because they see the index of the raw material is rising up very quickly. So Philip said to me last year, Thomas, in 10 years we won't sell lamps anymore. It's over. It's impossible. It's even impossible to make 30 million electrical car. We don't have the resources for it yet. I show you another concept. This is the new headquarter of Alliander. And they have this park with all these ugly buildings, you know, this industrial parks. And they said, okay, we want to show the world that we can reincarnate these buildings, and we can reanimate it, and we can make it vitalized for the 21st century. So how we do that? And they want to do it with turn 2 materials. So these are the steps of the existing building. So you think about, okay, we need some extension for the program, how we organize it, how do we roof on that. And in fact, that's the building. So with a big roof on it, and the light is regulated by air. So this is a completely new way how to bring daylight in the building. This is the whole interior side. So this was, until now, it's outside, but we made a big roof on it. So now this is the inside. And all the materials here will be turn 2 material. So this is the whole concept. So this is not something for today, but just to show you that we, of course, we think over the raw material management, but also over the energy management. This is the building from the outside with a long roof. And this is another company that said, okay, is it possible to make a new building at all? You all know the KPMG discussion in Holland we have in Amstelveen. And I said, okay, if we make a new real estate, then we want to show the world what does it mean to make the new generation of real estate. And the new generation of real estate means it's energy positive, and you don't pay for the raw materials. We just use it for a period, and then we give it away. So it's 30 minutes. So I finish. So what you see here, this is the new world map. We sent it to the United Nations, but we didn't get any reaction. But the message is, we can't change that planet. It's impossible. But what we can change is the perspective to the planet. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Before I open the floor for a few questions from the audience, one question for me.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a beautiful vision. What is the biggest challenge right now to actually make this a reality behind your own buildings, or what is the biggest challenge to make this reality?
There is no biggest challenge, because we can do it by ourselves. We have a lot of people who really want to do it. The producers, they like it because they realize we get a problem in the future. Maybe the only problem is that you have to finance it, and that even the banks, they have to think in a completely different way. So now we are busy with that, but we have some banks that, okay, we want to invest in turn 2. We just want to start up. We want to make new mistakes, because we all know the old mistakes, but it's very difficult to make new mistakes. So maybe that's the biggest challenge. How can we organize the new mistakes?
Nice, very good. Okay, are there any questions from the audience? Yeah, I thought so. Okay, please tell your name and question.
My name is Jorg. I'm a researcher, urban geography. Maybe somebody heard my story in the first round. This is a rather difficult story. And another question: how can you take use of revolving funds? It's a little bit of financial question maybe, but it's kind of interesting for me. How can you create new materials, like producing what you want, like the architect, and how is the place for this revolving funds you can use? You have to make it, you have to gain money.
Okay. You understand it, Thomas?
I did get... Yeah, okay, what is your... What is your question now? I didn't get your question.
The question was, how can you manage the revolving funds? How can you present your ideas to get those funds, to get it funded?
Oh, okay. But this is very easy, because the fund you need is the fund for the raw materials. Because the money we need is to finance the raw material just for the period that, for example, the washing machine is with you and not with us. And that's very simple, because all financial institutions, they want to invest in the real value, and raw material is a real ending value. So in that case, it's no problem to pick up the money. But the point is, we are just starting that initiative. So we have around about 12 pilots projects right now. We signed the first contract, for example, with the gemeente Almere. So all the clothes from the people who are working with the gemeente Almere, these are turn to clothes. So they just, okay, just give it for 2 years. And after 2 years, we want to give back all the clothes, because then we have a completely new design. We don't want it anymore. So then you can take it back.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Lehman, Aura Design from New York. So I think that this is a very clever business plan, and the concept of consumer responsibility is not new in the United States. And in New York, we have, we make it the company responsibility. And so in New York, if you buy an electronic product at some point now, you can bring it back to the company and they have to recycle it. And so you're saying that you would be the person to provide that product, and the person who would, or the company that would recycle it in the end. And you're saying that because you are providing that responsibility, that there's no need for certification, but who is making sure that you're recycling, reusing it in a way that is good for the environment? I mean, it sounds very nice, but who's watching
it's also you? It's also very nice. Doesn't sound. This is a product. This is a regular product. Maybe Philips is making a television, for example. Let's take a washing machine. Maybe that's Bosch is making a washing machine. That's a washing machine, and they give it to the retailer, and the retailer is giving to the consumer, and he's doing something with it, and then mostly it's gone. But in our case, we say, okay, Bosch is giving the washing machine first to turn 2. And then we ask a raw material passport. So we want to know what kind of raw material is in your washing machine and how much. That's raw material. So then we know, okay, this is the value of the raw material in that washing machine. And we put that value out of the washing machine. So the consumer is just paying for that. He's not paying for this. We keep that. But what we say is to the producer, okay, listen, this is paid by the consumer. And this is paid by turn 2. We give you credit for that. But we have to make a contract, because if you get back the washing machine after 7 years, we want to have back our credit. And then you have to be ready that you have a product which you can disassemble completely to get back the raw material. Otherwise, you're using money. That's why we don't need certification. The only thing is, you take it back for that value over 7 years, okay, then we have a deal. If not, you didn't produce it in the right way, and you will lose raw materials in the future. So it's a very simple way.
We have time for one more question. Actually, we are out of time, but it's so interesting that we make time for one more question. Can you pass the mic over there? And please keep it short.
Hi, my name is Jose. Well, quick question. What will be the main challenge to bring this idea, the turn 2 idea, into, because all the examples that you've been showing, it's office buildings, like rather big buildings when people go to work. What is the main challenge to bring it to the everyday life? Like my house, single households, like downscale it to everybody.
Yeah. I think it's very simple. You won't own anything in the future. You just use it. And you use it as long as you need it. And if you don't need it anymore, you just give it back.
That's clear.
Okay?
Why is it happening right now?
Where is it happening right now?
Why is it not happening right now? Like what kind of economical challenges
Okay, so one thing is, it's a big step for us not to own something. Especially in the Western world, it's a big problem. We think, okay, we are what we have, so we will always want to have things to show who we are. So this is one step, and the other step is there are a lot of people, they're earning a lot of money with the old system, and they won't earn money with the new system, because in the future you can't speculate with the raw material anymore. It's out, because we take the raw material out of the speculative world market, and that's the biggest challenge. So that means, in fact, that the raw material is for all of us, and we don't privatize it in the future. We keep it as a collective ownership. And this is a big challenge, but especially for the Western world, it's a big step. For the Eastern world, it's not so. It's not a big deal, I think.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Please give him a big applause.